President Cyril Ramaphosa meeting with the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed there, and I think we have some live visuals. Our reporter, the SABC foreign editor, Sophie Mokwena is there. Sophie, what are you witnessing there?
Well, ministers have started arriving. I saw the Minister of Communications, Minister Stella Ndabeni, and also I saw Minister of Intelligence, Ayanda Dlodlo, and also the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Mena Lady Pando. They've gone inside, and ministers from Ethiopia, I think they are now preparing for the most important activity today, where President Cyril Ramaphosa will be hosting the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. And we saw the presidential convoy. I'm not so sure whether it was the deputy president who has arrived or it was the president's convoy. But we saw the black cars arriving here behind me. As you can see right now, I'm going to move out of the shot. Everybody stands ready to receive the dignitaries. The media has arrived, and also the members of the team of protocol from the presidency. They are here to receive the dignitaries. We expect the Prime Minister to arrive at 12 or any minute from now, and they will start with what we call a tete-a-tete, where the two leaders in closed doors, they will talk. And I think in that closed door meeting, they are likely to touch on issues of refugees. You know that the Minister of Home Affairs has currently announced changes or tightening of laws in terms of the refugees who are here in South Africa, particularly on issues of labor or employment, or perhaps being seeking employment in South Africa, but also the political matters where you find people who have fled their countries because of the political challenges in their respective countries, particularly those countries where people are complaining about the free political activities in Africa. And you know that you have some of those people who have been in South Africa from Ethiopia when there were tensions there. But Prime Minister Abiy has since pardoned many political activists from Ethiopia, but some are still here and some are still not convinced. I think this matter is going to come up at the closed door meeting, but during the media briefing, we'll be able to ask the two leaders their view on this matter, because you have many refugees in South Africa, those who have fled their respective countries because of the persecutions, but also because of the alleged human rights violation in their respective countries.
Sophie, we were saying that the Prime Minister is relatively young. He's in his early mid-40s, but he's brought about, we're told, change and reform in his country. He came into office in April 2018. Talk to us about the political, economic, as well as social reforms, Sophie, that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has brought into Ethiopia. And also, with regards to women empowerment, what sort of role has he played in this regard?
As a woman, I want to start with the women empowerment, because I'm a woman. I must speak or create a platform for women issues. Yes, indeed, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, when he took office, he empowered many women, giving them senior positions in the cabinet. And as we speak, the representation or the representativity of women in cabinet is way beyond 50%. But not only that, even the judiciary, appointing the head of judiciary currently is a woman. We know that even on the Electoral Commission, as I indicated, appointing a former human rights activist as head of the Electoral Commission. That speaks to not only women empowerment, but also political changes that he has brought, because we know that as we speak, we don't have many women leaders in the presidency on the continent. Even here in South Africa, you have both the president and the deputy president being a male, but Prime Minister Abiy appointing a woman as president in that country, even though their position is ceremonial, but sometimes sending a clear message that he respects women women issues, but also can empower women. On economic development, yes, if you visit Addis Ababa right now, you'll see lots and lots and lots of cranes. And when you see cranes in any country, you must know that there is development or there is economic activities. And I also spoke about the Renaissance Dam that is expected to generate hydroelectric power in that country, but also neighboring countries can tap into that resource or ensure that they get power from that dam, even though there are tensions with Egypt about that dam. Some are saying that dam is fully funded by Ethiopia, and also it's fully an Ethiopian dam, and also some saying that the Nile River is where water will come from is part of Ethiopia, but the Egyptians holding a different view.
Yeah. Yesterday, we heard the Ethiopian Prime Minister speaking at the January 8th statement event, the ANC's January 8th statement event, and he was talking and saluting leaders of the past, but he also cited Mandela, Nelson Mandela, Madiba, he called him, as, I guess, inspiration for other African leaders on the continent. What sort of role model or example is he setting, especially for the youth in Africa?
Well, he's sending a message that young people can lead and young people are capable. But I think for us it's a misnomer to always argue about young people being able or being ready to lead. I mean, you look at the people he spoke about yesterday. These are the young leaders during their time who ensured that the ANC transform. I mean, when that whole issue or the debate around whether to embark on the armed struggle or not, it's young leaders like Mandela, like Tambo, like Sisulu, who really powered ahead to ensure that there are changes. And I think it's an example that young people can indeed lead. And he has demonstrated that. And also, I think him talking about Mandela, as I indicated earlier on, it was on the 11th of January 1962, when former President Nelson Mandela left the country using an Ethiopian passport, calling himself David Motsamai, walking Kasisotho. Indeed, Ulatsamai. He left the country. On arrival in Ethiopia, he received military training and also got some military training not only in Ethiopia, also in Algeria. You know that the first gun that he had was given to him by Ben Bella, and even today you know that people are speculating as to where is the gun, and sometimes people will go to Lily's Leaves farm where you had the Rivonia trialist staying and where they were arrested, some thinking that perhaps that gun is still there. Therefore, Ethiopia, South Africa, strong relations, not only now, pre- and post-elections. As I indicated, also Madiba's successor, Mbeki, strong relations with Zenawi, establishing NEPAD, playing a prominent role, transformation of the Organization of African Unity to AU that we know today, and the AU that is going to be chaired by President Cyril Ramaphosa in February.
Yeah, that's an important point. Diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and South Africa officially began in 1994, but as you said, it goes much more deep and longer than that. You spoke about South Africa assuming the chairmanship, or chairpersonship rather, of the African Union in February. So I guess this visit will be in preparation for that. What sort of discussions do you envisage taking place around this issue?
When we spoke to the president, I think when he was hosting his counterpart from Nigeria on his role as the incoming chair of the AU, he indicated that they'll continue to pursue Agenda 2063, particularly the program to silence the guns in 2020. We are now in 2020. Therefore, President Ramaphosa will have to work very, very, very hard to ensure that that goal is realized. But secondly, you know that Africa has sign what we call African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, where the continent is saying we want to work as a continent on issues of trade and investment. And we've seen now many countries, particularly international community, they are now inviting Africa as a bloc to communicate when they want to do business with Africa. You know, last year we had what we call the China-Africa Summit, the Japan-Africa Summit. We saw Russia doing the same. And this year, very soon, in a few weeks' time, it will be UK and Africa heads of state going to London, where we are going to see them engaging with UK on trade relations at a time where the UK is pushing ahead to implement Brexit, and therefore strengthening relations at bilateral level, but choosing bilateral with the continent, even though it does hope to strengthen relations country to country, but choosing the whole continent. And I think, those are the issues that they are going to talk about as head of, or as the chair of the African Union. He must also make sure that all member countries do comply with the agreement on the African Continental Free Trade Area. In other words, he'll be speaking for Africans. And we are told that it will be very tricky for him to go to Davos. He might choose to go to London because he has to represent the continent. But others are saying, why all the time these meetings are taking place outside Africa? If you want to do business with Africa, you must come to our home soil. But also, I think for me what is critical is us Africans to be vigilant as those trade engagements are taking place, that we don't see the second colonization of Africa or the partition of Africa.
Good point. Sophie, I'm going to keep one eye on your feed there at the Union buildings. As soon as the Ethiopian Prime Minister arrives, we'll come straight back.